Welcome back to the show. Today, I am beyond honored to be joined by a true powerhouse in Puerto Rico real estate. She is the owner of Paradise Properties and is widely recognized for her incredible contributions and expertise in the island's luxury market. To many, she is known as the most beloved real estate agent in Ciudadela. But beyond listings, she is a woman who has navigated significant challenges, emerging more resilient and stronger than ever. Please help me welcome the one and only Molly Assad. Molly, I need to ask you many questions, so get ready.
All right.
Okay, my first question. I'm not going to ask you many questions, but I just wanted to point out that because I've seen you, working together, I wanted to know. You've seen the island skyline change over the years. What is the biggest difference between a luxury buyer 20 years ago and the one walking into your office today?
Wow, that was such a great question. I vividly remember 20 years ago because I was selling a high-rise luxury building in Condado, Aquamarina, and it was a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it was a lot of showings. $1 million or over $1 million property 20 years ago was a huge challenge.
Of course.
The market was down, and there was not the cash buyers that you see today. And as a result, that's precisely why there's not a lot of luxury properties currently on the market, is because after the market dipped in 2007, 2008, construction came to a standstill. So
Correct.
now that we have these incentives for people to move to the island, and we're, attracting, I say Puerto Rico's a magnet for the affluent, there's just not very much inventory. As a result, it's driven the prices way up.
Correct. Wow. People see the beautiful listings on Instagram, but what does the hustle of Paradise Properties really look like behind the scenes?
I would love to be able to tell you there is no hustle. We have a great team, and we're very progressive. Most of our team is completely virtual. So actually, when they come in the office, you're going to think, well, they're having a lot of fun. We're just laughing and joking. And meanwhile, there's people behind the scenes. I have one woman, it's a beautiful story. She knows more about real estate than anyone I know. She's worked for big developers, construction work, and now her mother's in her 90s. And of course, the values in Puerto Rico. So she's grateful. She's at home in Bayamon, busting out the contracts, simultaneously taking care of her mother. She's like, I'm giving mom lunch, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But she's really the engine behind the scenes. And then I have another virtual marketer that's in Canada that does all of my listings. And it's kind of, I shouldn't tell you our secrets, but ChatGPT. And sometimes, she'll make mild mistakes. I'm like, no, not that one, So, but it's all about the team. It's really about the team.
Correct. I mean, in this business, how has the definition of luxury in Puerto Rico shifted? It is still all about the square footage, or it is more about the lifestyle and amenities now? Between that,
Right now the biggest demand primarily is electric plant and water system.
yes,
And Puerto Rico was, years ago we just lived with it, and I
Correct.
still live with it. We don't,
Correct.
in my building, we don't have an electric plant, and I'm from St. Croix, so it's like if it goes off once a week, I don't care. I really don't care. I'll just go to the pool. But the people that are coming in, they really want. I had a call yesterday from a pilot that's like, I just need to know that I'm going to have internet and electricity and water 24/7. It's like, it only limits you to a very minimal amount of
Of
buildings,
time.
and as of those complexes, the rent's a little bit higher.
correct.
Because of the electric plant and the water system.
Correct. Not every building has power plants.
Right.
Okay, I got you. With the rise of this remote work and global mobility that we have, that we can do things from Canada and, all over, what is the drawing ultra high net worth individuals to Puerto Rico, specifically over the Caribbean destination? Why they choose more Puerto Rico?
Well, let me put it this way. We all know that there's a big tax incentive program that has its pros and its cons. That you mean to tell me that I have to go to a tropical island and enjoy life to be able to get these tax benefits? And in the beginning, when this tax incentive started in 2012, I know there were tons of people that thought it was too good to be true.
Correct.
Correct. You mean to tell me I have to go to Puerto Rico, where there's a wonderful culture, wonderful people, wonderful music,
I know.
a relaxed environment, and to save on my taxes?
Well, that is a true thing. That is completely true. We've been witness of our customers, our borrowers. I mean, they go to the closing with flip-flops, chancletas, sandals, shorts,
yes,
T-shirts, caps.
Yes.
They sign and they leave.
Yes.
They left. All right. Let's go behind the gates. Let's do this. I know you have some incredible stories. I know because I know most of those stories, and they just capture my heart. Can you tell us about the most unique or unusual property you've ever had to represent?
I have to start with, for me, God is my business partner. So
Correct.
Absolutely every step I take and everywhere I go and everything I do has purpose.
Correct.
It has purpose. And I always say, this necklace that I'm wearing, I was looking at it this morning. Does it match? Does it not match?
It matches and it's beautiful. And I love her.
My mother gave it to me.
Oh.
So this is me bringing my mother. So in every step I make, there has to be
Beautiful.
purpose. And one of the things I say about buying real estate is so many people buy their first home and they stop. They stop because the purpose is complete. We have a home for ourselves. But when you make the purpose larger, you can do so much more. For me, you want to get your kids through private school. You want to get this. At some point, okay, the kids are done. Now what's my purpose?
Correct.
And, for me, my purpose is primarily matching people with homes. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of money. I had a young girl call me last night. She lives in Louisa. And the first thing I thought is I got to get her to Emma because she makes $2,000 a month. She's a therapist of water for special needs people.
Oh, okay.
Very beautiful vocation, beautiful young lady, and the guidance and the teaching that they need, because it's very important to me that no matter what level you're at, that you get in the game.
Correct.
So as far as one of my favorite stories was, I tell people that we suffered immeasurably in 2008. I overinvested. And the only thing that really got me through was my faith and also saying, it's not just me. I mean, everybody was in foreclosure. So when I would go to the bank and I would ask for mercy, I had to wait in a long line because there was everybody behind me.
Oh my God. Everybody.
Everybody behind me. So
Dark times.
at some point, I lost my car to repossession. And the morning that they took my car, I said, I was just sitting there and I was just like, God, I'm a realtor without a car. You've got to guide my steps. How can I function without a car? And I went on a website called Craigslist. I don't know if you've ever heard of Craigslist. That was like the original kind of swapping website. And I saw this car for $1,200. And I was like, this is impossible. I can't be $1,200. And I called the people and they said, meet us in the Canovanas Mall so you can see the car. So I go to see the car with my husband and we have $1,000. I thought we had $1,000. And so we say to them, all we have is $1,000. And they said, they stood in a circle. The family stood in a circle and they prayed.
Oh my God.
And they came back and they said, they were a missionary family that came to Puerto Rico and they needed the $1,000 to buy the plane tickets to go home.
Oh my God.
So they said, okay, $1,000. So the day we went to the DMV, Sesco, I had $979. That's all we had. I did not have the $1,000, but I wasn't worried. I'll mail you the other 20 as soon as I get it, but it was every single penny we had. Her husband had already left to the States, and she looked at me in the line of Sesco, and she's like, no way, my husband will kill me if I don't get the full $1,000. I call my husband. My husband scurries through his drawers and his desks and everything. We get the $1,000, and we get the 1997 Ford Taurus with, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those cars where the ceilings kind of hang.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the car we got.
Oh my God.
So I am in church, I am praying, God, give me a divine idea, give me this divine idea to make money, because I refused to believe that there was nobody buying real estate. I just refused to believe it. So I had this idea, I'm going to make a television show. And I put an ad on Clasificados Online that I was looking for someone to film this show for me. And they said $600, and this is the show. It's called Real Estate is for Everyone. This is the last CD. And it was $600, but I didn't have $600. So I said, do you mind if I pay you $60 for 10 weeks? They said, okay. I was told someone in my church that has a television station that, I'm thinking about making the show. And they said, well, make the show and we'll air it for you. So I made the show, and my joke is I made it like in an hour, and I said either they don't speak English or I'm darn good at what I do. I don't know, but they made it in an hour. So I made the show, and I made 50 copies of the CD, and I distributed it everywhere, and I gave it to my church, and I sat and I waited, and I was devastated.
Wow.
I was devastated. They didn't air it. And I was just, because they all told me they would air it, and I just was like, wow, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? What happened? So instead of thinking negative, I said, you know what? Maybe I need to go national. I sent it to ABC, CBS, NBC. Nothing happened. A PS to the story is later I found out my church didn't air it because it was in English.
Oh my God.
But meanwhile, this disc lands on an executive of CBS's television station. And he just so happens to be going to Puerto Rico. So they're like, why don't you look up this lady? Why don't you look her up? So the young man comes, he's the videographer for the company. He comes to Puerto Rico, and we end up becoming very good friends. He's still here today. We're still very good friends today. And he comes to visit me in Aqua Marina, where I had just started working. And he says, how about I make a commercial for you? And I said, sure, why not? He makes this commercial. It's still on YouTube today. And it gets on the owner of CBS's desk.
Oh my God.
So he comes to me the next day, he says, my boss wants to buy one. I have no money. My house is in foreclosure. I am complete destitution. And the owner of CBS is coming to Puerto Rico. So I said, there's no way I can pick up the owner of CBS in my 1997 Ford Taurus. There's just no way. So I went to the car rental agency, and I said, I just was researching how much of the cars, can you tell me how much if I take it from this day to this day, and just trying to see if I could make money to rent a car. And so I had it all ready at Avis. I was ready to go, and but the guy never called me. He never called me. So I was like, I don't know what happened to him. So one day I'm driving on the highway, and I get a phone call, and he says, hi, I'm here. I'm ready for you to pick me up.
Like how many days?
No, out of the blue.
Like
out of
days
the blue.
later?
Yes.
Weeks later?
Yeah. He said, could you pick me up at the airport? I'm here. And my body is shaking.
Oh my God.
He said, I left my phone at home in Boston by accident, so I wasn't able to tell you that I was coming, but I'm here. Can you pick me up?
You were in the Taurus?
I was in the Taurus. I was like, oh, no. So I zoomed to the car rental agency, and it was spring break. It was in February.
Oh my God.
It was a spring break. And I said, there's just no way I can wait in that line. I have got to pick him up in my car. I was horrified. So I thought, should I tell him my car's in the shop? Should I tell him this? I said, nope, you're going to tell him the truth.
The truth.
So I pick him up at the airport. He's my age. He gets in the car, and I'm like, you're going to feel like you're in high school again. So we drive on the highway, and it stops dead in the highway.
No way.
I'm embarrassed. I'm dying. I'm laughing. I'm giggling, but I'm mortified. We get to Aqua Marina. I show him an oceanfront unit. He is so mesmerized by the ocean that he gets a sunburn. He's out there for 15 minutes on the balcony, just staring at the ocean.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And he comes back to me and he says, do you mind taking me to my accountant? I said, sure. I take him to his accountant in
Puerto Rico?
In Miramar.
Oh my God.
I get out of the car and I just keep praying around the block. I just keep praying, God, please, please, please. He gets in the car after about an hour and he says, do you mind taking me back to the airport? I'm like, if you're fine with the Ford Taurus, let's, at this point I'm teasing him about it. We're driving to the airport and I hear him say, my accountant said it could be a good investment and I like the apartment. I really wasn't planning to make any decision, but I thought it might help you out a little bit. And I was like, did he just say that he's buying 1.6 million because of my car? And it's just such a great moral of the story of being authentic, being honest, leaving the outcome in God's hands, and just getting up every day and hitting the ball.
Wow, 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 wow. That is, that is, I'm telling you, your stories are incredible, really. They really teach me a lot. They really teach me a lot. This other question, I know you're going to be amazing. So, have you ever had a moment where a deal seems completely dead at the closing table? How did you bring it back to life?
Well, I was reflecting on that question last night, and I said, I remember the days where, there was no wiring money in a minute. There was, it was phones in the middle of the table. And I remember being in a closing all day, one day, because the person from the States didn't know. He was used to just picking up the phone and wiring the money, and and it was a sweating it. Is it coming back? Forget it. The fighting, and I just remember there sitting for 8 hours, and it eventually got signed, and the money definitely came in. But we have so many luxuries today. I come from a real estate background where you had to get the real camera,
correct,
take the real pictures, print the real pictures, mail the real pictures, get a FedEx envelope.
Yes,
we're very spoiled.
Yes. Wow. So let me ask you this other question. What is the most eccentric request you've ever received from a buyer looking for their dream home in Dorado, Condado, Isla Verde, Miramar, Santurce?
Well, probably the most eccentric right now is a sauna. Because this person put a sauna in his apartment in Ciudadela.
Oh, really?
And it encompassed the entire master bedroom. I won't tell you that he put a little barcode on it, so for ATH Mobile, for people that wanted to come use it.
That is crazy. That is crazy. That is great. That is great. All right. We do business together. I am a mortgage banker, and our financial businesses are up to now, thank God, being very successful. Many of our clients are incredibly liquid, yet they still choose to leverage. So how do you explain the value of having a dedicated mortgage banker like me? I don't want to brag, obviously. It's just that I'm a mortgage banker, and that's what I do. In their corner from day one. How do you think, think about that?
Well, it's very important to give them that option, because sometimes people in the luxury market especially, they kind of eliminated it. Interest rates are high. They're going to use their cash. But now that the interest rates have come a little bit more affordable, and again, I lived 21%. So, when people start crying at 8, I'm like, what are you crying about? But they have a better, a business person, an entrepreneur can find a better use for their money than tying it up in a property.
Correct. That's, you said 21. I remember when I started in 1998, the rates were 9.25. I remember. And I remember it was normal, and people were buying houses.
Right, it was normal.
I remember when I started, it was Encantada was starting, and I remember 9.25 for everyone.
And it was normal.
And it was sold out in days.
Right.
So time changes. So let me ask you this other question. What do you think about the power of relationships and connections in this industry?
Well, I would say the power of relationships in any industry. It is all about relationships.
Correct.
And, I'm just going to give you a tiny example. I had a guy this week that wanted an apartment, and it was occupied. The tenant would not let me in. But he would knock on my door every day, and he'd come in. In the meanwhile, a realtor contacted me and she said, I have someone very interested in that apartment. They'll offer you this cash, this, and you see the struggle? And so I said to her, I said, listen, there is a guy that has been asking me. He's definitely first in line. And you don't want people to think, well, you don't want to co-broke. That's not, I want to be fair. I want to be ethical. And I said, he's been wanting this apartment. The only thing he needs to do is get in it and see it. But she said, well, please give my client a chance. So anyways, again, I mean, he looked at it at 9:00 at night. The minute I got the key, he wanted to see it. He said, I am madly in love. And my heart is tearing up. Like, what is the right thing?
Correct.
The right thing is to get the maximum for the seller.
Correct.
So I wrote the realtor and I just said, I adore you. I value our friendship. I love you. What would you do? I don't know what to do in this case. And she said, oh, no, don't worry. My client is traveling. He's not here anyways. So let's find my client another one. I was like this big relief because to me, my relationship with her
Correct.
was so valuable.
Correct.
And in our case, the relationship of the bank, just like I said, if somebody comes in, the first step is get pre-qualified.
Correct.
Because even if you don't think you need the money, even if you have cash, you may find it's valuable to spend $2,000 a month on a mortgage so you can invest $2,000 in your business.
Correct. That is completely correct. That's the way we have to do it.
Right.
It's the correct way. All right. I have another question. What is the biggest misconception high-end buyers have about purchasing property, specifically here in Puerto Rico?
And the number one thing is trust. They're told before they come, be careful, that if you're wealthy, there's the certain price, if you know what I'm talking about, the outsider price, the insider price. And I find that that's probably the beginning of my job is building a bond and building that trust. I got a call yesterday from a referral from a client 30 years ago.
Wow.
My son is in the Coast Guard. He's coming to the Coast Guard. I heard that I can count on you. We had a client this week, a local client, that refused to sign a contract and give a deposit. The property's in San Patricio, but just because of fraud. I'm nervous. I don't know who you are. I don't know, are you
Correct.
legitimate? And once he came to the office and he saw that we have a presence and, he immediately was just...
He did it. He gave you the money.
Yeah, so it's about building the trust and building the credibility.
Correct.
That's what they need.
Correct. That happens to me too with the borrowers. Sometimes they, I gave services to so many borrowers in California.
Yes.
And sometimes they don't see me.
Right.
So I have to send a lot of things, and I have
testimonials.
Of course. And sometimes I have to even call them on a video call because they wanted to know who is this person that is talking from Puerto Rico.
Right.
Telling me that, yes, you can do it. And so, yes, definitely. Trust is the first thing ever. I understand that. Looking forward, what is your one piece of advice for luxury buyers looking to enter in the market in 2026? Because we've been very busy, very busy. And this 2026 has been busy. So what is the one piece of advice for luxury buyers right now?
Buy real estate. Buy real estate. There's always a deal. No matter what, you can always find a good deal. And, if anybody ever says, oh, well, I'm going to wait for interest rates to come down, the best time to buy is now, because if it comes down, you can refinance. If it goes up, there's nothing you can do.
Correct. I had that situation last week. 2 weeks ago, actually. I was in the middle of a mentally crisis. It's like the way you said, you have to go with the truth.
Yes.
I said to her, listen, when we started, the rates were like this, and now the rates are like this, and they're expensive. And this is what it is, and we can do nothing about it. My suggestion is let's do the transaction now. The rates are going to go lower eventually. So let's do it. And when they comes down, you just refinance and we lower the rates if it's good for you.
And there's a strong correlation between low interest rates, the property prices go higher.
Correct.
So this is at the higher the interest.
And she bought a beautiful house, and the house has potential to do a lot of renovations, and she was so happy. Very young, a professional, a woman, and she knew what she wanted to do. She knew that she wanted to have an investment, and we did it. We closed it last month.
That's so
last week. So, yes, buying a property, it's what it has to be. It is one of the most important investments right now.
Puerto Rico has tons of opportunities, tons.
Definitely.
You can still get a property for $100,000.
Yes.
There's a place that I know in a 3-bedroom, 250, 5 minutes from the airport that can Airbnb.
Look at that. Yes.
So, there's still good deals out there.
There it is. There are. Which up-and-coming area in Puerto Rico should investors be watching right now before it becomes the next big luxury hub?
It's definitely the East End. The East End. Canóvanas, Luquillo, Fajardo. That's pristine, beautiful beaches, calm, peaceful, no traffic, not traffic like you get in and out of other places. And, so I definitely see that booming.
The East Side. Yes. Ceiba. I've seen so many beautiful, amazing properties in the mountains.
Yes.
Oh my God. And these are ready to buy, ready to be bought. Yes, definitely. Let me ask you this other question. If you could go back to the start of your career in Paradise Properties, what is the one thing you know now that you wish you knew then?
To me, it's your worth. That this is not a hobby; it's a profession, and I'm not as easy as okay, all right, don't worry, all right. I don't take what I used to take. In other words, I know my value, I know what I bring to the table, and I know, as I indicated earlier, that I will get you more for your property. That I will show you what I'm worth in the end.
Correct.
So I think it's very important to not sell yourself short. I have a word that I've invented. It's not confident, it's Godfident. I used to wake up and have this list of things to do. I got to get this done, that done. And now, because of the tsunami of business that I have, it's more like, God, I have no idea what I'm doing, where I'm going. Just show me. And
Correct.
I get in the car and I say, show me. And yesterday we're sitting in my office, and the gentleman that I told you about from 30 years ago calls me. We closed at 3:00 the office, and it was 2:30. And I look at Carolyn and I'm like, let's go. In 15 minutes we're in front of his door. You get the pictures. I need the deed. Get me the catastrophe. And let's get this on the internet tonight. And it's about service.
It is. In this business, is service. That is something that it will never change from my perspective. That is what brings more.
There's no greater joy than having a satisfied client. I closed
Correct.
one recently that there was fighting at the end. The seller said he was going to paint the property. He didn't, and then the buyer got it, and it wasn't painted, and he threatened and to keep the peace. I'm like, don't worry. I ran to Sherman-Williams. I got the painter. I painted it. And all I did the next day was I called him. I said, don't worry. It's all been taken care of. I did not say to him, that I did it.
Correct.
But at the end, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. Correct. At the end, it's about what's mine and what's yours, and I shouldn't have to. And he got this, and
Yes.
it's about just keeping the peace.
Correct.
And making everybody happy.
Correct. In this business, this is what it makes the difference. When you
and one
do
more
that.
very good story I have for you is the thank you. The thank you. Like right after I close, it's like, I really am not big on handing someone a closing gift. I like to do something really meaningful. And this woman just lost her dog. I'm like, I want to buy her a dog, but how do I get her to participate in selecting the dog? But anyways, the person that she referred lives in Ciudadela, and he always, well, when are you going to come have coffee? And it's like, I must have 5 cups a day, you know. It's like, so the first day I didn't get there, the second day, so yesterday we bought, he loves coffee. He's the one who doesn't like the Keurig.
Oh,
and we bought coffee, we bought him cookies, we get up there, and he has a friend there.
Okay.
And honestly, the friend said, wow, I can't believe what happened to Fernando in 5 weeks. He sold his apartment, he bought another apartment, he rented an apartment, and of course I'm like, you know, and believe me, it took a big risk because he put a $30,000 deposit down on a $1 million property that he had to sell his other house in 6 months. In other words, it wasn't subject to the sale of his home.
Oh.
It was like, don't worry, I got 6 months, I got you covered. But
Wow.
I had to tell him the risk, you know, like, can you buy it if by chance? But anyways, it all worked out. And so the guy's like, I have an apartment in Condado I want to sell. So what I'm saying is, you don't go to those thank yous and those courtesy stops with any kind of motivation except to express your gratitude, but inevitably it turns into more blessing.
Of course. Definitely. That is true. Molly, I know you have something new. What is that something new that you've been doing or you are doing right now?
Well, let me tell you how it started. I had so many clients come in the door and ask me questions. Where's Caguas? Where's Bayamon? Where's Condado? Where's Isla Verde? And we want to see this in Bayamon, and we want to see this. And there was just impossible manpower-wise to take them one by one and give them the tour. So we started these bus tours. And the purpose is really to just get a perspective of the overlay. You know, for example, we have one guy that wants his own pool, then he's going to need a house. We have one guy that wants a place for his dogs. So, you know, somebody might want something in a more affordable budget. We can see that. Correct. So we went on our first tour, and it was an eclectic group of people. We laughed. We had a great time. We were up in the hills of Calle, and we were in Caguas, and we got lost. And, you know, it's just a lot of fun. But it's also a great way because these people come in and they don't know anybody. So it gives me great joy to see them starting to connect and, you know, have somebody to spend Easter with. And so it's really just a way of having a good time and letting them see so they can select the areas that they want. So our next tour is Friday, April 17th. We pick up right by the park in front of Ciudadela.
Okay.
It's very, very important that you call me.
Okay.
787-642-3205. There's no cost.
Say again the number.
787-642-3205 in WhatsApp. And it's the importance is just because we need to know whether we need to add a bus or not. Because it feels the bus holds 17 passengers and it fills up very quickly. And so my driver has 2 buses, and he's like, 1, 2, and you know how we are. We don't like RSVP. We don't want to RSVP, but it's just for the head count. That's what we need it for.
Oh my God, I wish I can be there.
And now I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Why do you think when someone first comes to me that I say you have to talk to Emalí first?
Great question. Well, the pre-qualification is the first step for any buyer that it's going to do a mortgage. If you don't do a pre-qualification, we don't know anything about this borrower. So the first thing, it is a pre-qualification. That's where I do all of these questions. I always say to the borrowers, I'm going to ask you questions, all the questions, and will depend more questions on your answers. And we go from there. And I said, and we go from there. Because I have to ask, are you married? Are you single? Are you divorced?
I always ask, I'm like, not for my sake. No.
I said, if you're divorced, do you have to pay child support? Do you have to pay alimony? All of those things comes in that conversation, that first conversation. And it's where I know if the borrower will qualify or not.
Right. And for me, it's a great way because sometimes they may qualify for more than they think. and sometimes they may qualify for less than they think. So it's a
Correct.
great way for me to not have to insult them and say, I don't think you can afford that. You know, it's in black and white. And because of the volume of business that there is in Puerto Rico today, many realtors will not open a door
Oh, definitely.
without a pre-qualification.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
so
Correct.
if they want
We have a borrower together.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Unfortunately, he only qualifies by cash.
Right.
He didn't qualify by a mortgage, but he insisted, and he went to another lender.
I remember that.
Remember?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't want to waste nor the time of the borrower or yours,
Right.
because time is money, and I know borrowers get frustrated,
Oh, yeah.
and they start looking to these other lenders, doing inquiries in their credits, and that is not the way we want to
Right.
do business. We
Yeah,
want to do
I
the
pretty
the
much
right way.
know that if you say no, it's a no.
It's a no.
They can.
I
look
wish I
wherever
can
else-
say yes,
Yes.
all the time,
Yes.
because that's my business.
Of course.
But when it's no, it's no.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Every time I say a no, I try to prepare them
Right.
for the next year.
Right.
I say, I'm telling you now, no, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, because I'm going to give you the instructions, the
Right.
way you should do your business. I mean, not your business, your income, your assets, the way you should construct and build that for the next year. And then next year we will be able to do it. And it's been great. I have borrowers calling me from 2 years ago.
Wow.
Usually
Yeah.
that happens all the time to me. Oh, I got prepared. I did this, blah, blah, blah. I'm sending you my tax returns. Let's talk about my new debts.
Yeah.
I don't have debts, blah, blah, blah.
And the young couple you helped, Bob and Rebecca, and
Oh,
Bayamon, they are so happy.
Oh.
She's planting and
I
gardening.
was thinking about them
You-
the
you-
other
you
day.
got to put them in Facebook. I mean, to see them in the yard
yes.
with the kids and Easter and it's,
Oh,
yeah.
I love
They're
them.
very
I love
grateful.
them. That was another challenge. Remember the
Yes.
seller?
Yes.
The seller didn't want this story. We didn't talk about it, but the seller didn't want it
He
to
was
close.
emotionally attached.
I
He did not-
know.
he wanted the money, but didn't want to give the keys.
Correct. That was crazy. I mean, those things happen.
Yes.
People are very attached to their property. They know they have to sell, and it is very difficult. But we did it.
Yep.
We did it. All right. So Molly, I'm so grateful. I know God sent you.
Amen.
I know that. I'm very grateful that you're here with me, that you have this, you've been in this sequel of another podcast. And I hope we can do very soon another one
Yes.
with new experiences. And I'm always thinking about when I go every day, every time I go to Ciudadela, I always think about you, and I always pray for you.
Thank
Always, you and your family. And I really hope that we can be like this until the last days of our lives.
Oh,
Really,
that's
I really
something
wanted to tell you that, because more than a
Yes.
business
yes.
relationship, I think we're friends.
Yes.
So
yes. we have the same heart for sure.
I cherish
We-
that
we
very
love,
much.
Love helping people.
I really do cherish that. And I when I talked to my husband about you, I said she has these incredible stories. You can do a Netflix season.
I have a big confession. I didn't bring it up, but I have a whole box in the car, and it's my miracle box. And every time something good happens, I throw it in this box. So I just brought this one, but I'm ready for the rest.
Okay. I hope to see that. I hope to be a witness of that.
Yes.
My Instagram is Emma Femby Mortgage Banker. My website is emalivaz.com.
My Instagram is Paradise Properties PR _, and my website is PuertoRicoLifestyle.com.
Puerto Rico Lifestyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.